Hello and welcome to MaxTheKnife.com. I'm Max, and in this video I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on the Battle of the Face on Mars and how I was able to derive the specific sequence I present here, and in the spinning version I have posted on my homepage. In my first video I said that the story sequence is given through converging lines of two spinning systems, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate exactly what I mean. Before I do that, however, allow me to take a moment and tell you about the story of Horus and Seth. Since Horus's immaculate birth, Isis has managed to keep her son hidden from the prying eyes of her evil brother Seth. As Horus comes of age, Isis manages to hide her son on a secluded island where he trains for his inevitable battle with his uncle Seth. Eventually, Seth becomes aware of the location of his nemesis Horus, and Seth goes to this island, and the legendary battle ensues. The Eye of Horus is removed, and before any more damage could be done, Horus manages to recover his eye and restore his sight. When he does, he strikes a blow that castrates Seth, and the badly wounded Seth finds himself in a position about to be destroyed at the hands of Horus the warrior. Before this happens, though, Isis is looking in on the battle and feels compassion for her brother, intervenes, and temporarily injures Horus so that Seth can live. Upon seeing her brother's recovery, she in turn heals Horus, and legend has it that this battle had no end. In other words, it repeated and kept going and going. There are several versions to how the story does finally end, but one of them says that it's Ra who finally offers the solution of a boat race that was rigged in favor of Horus. At any rate, Horus finally wins his place on the throne, and guess what? Assuming these images do represent Horus, Seth, and their famous battle, it stands to reason that the sequence of the battle should conform to a specific geometric model. But exactly what model are we supposed to apply? Well, I'm all for reinventing the wheel, but from the very beginning I thought it would be a good idea to test what's already been proposed. What I eventually learned is that the DNM is a perfect fusion of two pentagonal shapes, of five-sided shapes. After all, if the face is the fused image of a lion and a man, why couldn't the DNM pyramid be the fusion of two different shapes? These are the two distinct but very similar shapes proposed by Dr. Mark Carlotto and Errol Torin. Here I've laid them out separately, and their internal angles are notated. What one immediately notices is they already share three angles, 45.1, 55.3, and 60 degrees, and really that's just for starters. So first I'm going to show each pentagon measured out separately on high-resolution data of the DNM. It's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter data, or MRO. And then I'm going to put them together and we'll observe what happens when these two specific shapes get together. Here we have Carlotto's shape laid out on that high-resolution data. Notice how tightly it conforms to the entire western side. That's the bright side of the DNM. Also obvious is the axis of symmetry for this shape, and it points right through the pointed platform of the mighty DNM. And here's Torin's shape. Notice it seems a little detached on the western side. This shape corresponds much tighter to the eastern side of the DNM. And noteworthy is the red line. That is, according to graphics published by Richard Hoagland, that red line is Mars's true north. What I eventually learned is that Mars's actual true north is 2.35 degrees away from that line. And that number is significant because it is exactly half of 4.7. And this is what happens when these two shapes finally get together. It's an explosive reinforcement of the tetrahedral geometry. First of all, just like there were 3 shared angles, now there are 3 shared lines. The angle 4.7 drops out 4 times automatically, and as well, if we spin Hoagland's north, the red line, 90 degrees, 19.5 appears 4 times also. I think it's safe to say that this is important. What I eventually learned through working with and spinning these two systems is that spinning the red line by intervals of 22.5 degrees while spinning the yellow line by intervals of 19.5 degrees, they converge on the orange line, and it just so happens 12 degrees falls out, and of course that's a multiple of 60, and we get reinforcement upon reinforcement. Again, obviously, this is important. But what good is all of this? What purpose does it serve? Well, let's assume this circle in the middle of the face is there for a reason. After all, this E over pi geometry is all about spinning systems. So, if there are a series of reflections on the face, as I contend, one would expect these reflections to conform, that is, come into focus on specific geometric lines. Now, given that the D&M is the Rosetta Stone, it is logical to assume that it is named so because it decodes information. Perhaps it decodes the sequence of the final battle between good and evil, light and dark. And here it is, quite complicated, yes, but also so elegant that it's simple enough for anyone to understand. I've done the geometry for you. It's accurate to within 0.05 degrees from true north. In other words, it's incontrovertible. All you have to do is realize that once in motion, the shadow is going to chase the light, and the light will in turn chase the shadow. It's sunrise and sunset. Very fundamental symbolism. We're going to assume the orange highlighted feature represents the Eye of Horus, and we'll assume the yellow highlight represents the testicle of Seth. As you will soon see, in case you're wondering why there's not much indicated on the intervention of Isis line, that is reinforced through the relationship of the face to the other monuments of Cydonia. Perspective. Again, when we step back, we find the geometry that indicates the intervention of Isis relates to the other major monuments of Cydonia. So next are just a few of the reflections that reinforce the entire event. At the top of this image, we see Horus looking very strong through a monument dedicated to his birth. You can see the outline of a warrior's face in the light, and it's surrounded by shadow. And he's getting stronger here and has the initiative, having castrated Seth. And here is Isis getting ready to intervene. She looks like she's swooping in. She's got the face of a dog, and if that's a tail, it's in the shape of a knife, which is significant to other legends that pertain to Isis. And here is the main event, the injury of Horus. That is Isis up top, and I can't imagine the evidence being any stronger. I think it speaks for itself. Finally, Isis heals her son through the D&M pyramid, and it now reflects another butterfly. It's transformation. This is fundamental symbolism. So I think this is a great part to cut this video in half and finish up in part 2.